I've been in 1.3 million direct message conversations. It's just more than anyone I've ever met. And through that, I ended up creating frameworks and what I call the rules of DM copywriting, which I can share with you because there's only 3 of them. And when you know those 3, you win every time. In fact, I took a company from 3 million to 40 million in 9 months, just with those fundamentals. It's bulletproof, like anyone could do.
The Next Gen Sales Leaders Podcast. Coffees for Closers.
What's up, guys? Welcome back to the Next Gen Sales Leader Podcast. My name is Ben Reed. I'm here with Sean Malone, who is the CMO and co-founder of Flowchat. Welcome to the show.
Hey, Ben Reed, thank you so much for having me here, dude. Huge fan of your show, and I'm really grateful and honored to be here, man. Thank you. I think with the content you put out is awesome, and I love what you stand for and do, so I appreciate being here, man.
Thank you. So I know that you're revolutionizing social DMs for business. Can you tell us, what does that even mean? What do you guys offer? What's the big value prop?
Yeah, sure. So we help founders and business owners to find, connect, and close deals using personal direct messages. And we did it a lot differently than anybody else has done it. We're sales brain folks versus like a lot of marketing folks that are out there. And so we actually care a lot more deeply about getting you a result rather than saying, here's a million leads, what you do with them, I don't care. And so that's come from, almost 30 years in the trenches of selling as my own sales pro as myself. Like I would always say like, hey, I'm a sales pro by trade. That's my vocation, specifically through the lost art of prospecting and high ticket sales. And then I'm also a student of marketing. I'd say there's a lot of expert marketers out there. I'm not one of them. However, I do know that if you have the right frameworks and you can do the right things, like DMs becomes a hyper channel of like just growing a business faster than anything for least amount of cost. Yeah. So.
I'm super interested in this because I will say that my number one channel currently is LinkedIn DMs by
Perfect.
far.
Love that.
Frankly, everyone wants to automate it. I get great results by just doing it one-to-one. I'm a little freaked out, which I'd like you to talk about how do I not get my LinkedIn account banned. But I've been using everything from, you name it, Hey Reach to LinkedIn Helper to Prosp to there's this new one, AimFox. So I don't know if they're all in the same conversation of kind of LinkedIn automation tools where they do LinkedIn DMs and that kind of stuff. But I know that there's obviously a lot of interest in the space. It's extremely hot. LinkedIn is just crushing from a conversion standpoint. I mean, when you compare cold email to LinkedIn versus say cold calls, I mean, it's just the connect request conversions are high, the response rates are high, and you're talking to the right person. If you have a good profile, like I spend a tremendous amount of time with my personal branding, being on shows like this, posting content. So when I reach out, I get responses. So can you dig deeper? What exactly are you guys supporting with in the DMs?
Yeah, I love that. So again, like I mentioned, I think the big difference between us and the next guy in the space, the ones you just actually listed, the first big thing that I would just share with you is the way that they connect into the social media platforms. Mm-hmm. They use an API connection. Most people listening to this know what that means. If you don't know what that means, it's just an electronic connection to the social platform. As an example, you would buy the, Hey Reach account, then you would give the Hey Reach software your login credentials to LinkedIn. And then LinkedIn and Hey Reach can talk directly, and guess what? They can also see everything that's going on in your computer. So if you're using automation, you're using AI, that will trigger the algorithm to shut down your account. So when we built Flowchat out of a market need, one of the biggest things in our minds was privacy and protection. So when we looked at how we would connect to the social media platforms, we decided to build it extraordinarily differently than everyone else. And it's allowed us a lot of things. So the first thing it gives you is privacy and protection as a member. Privacy from the standpoint of we use our standalone software. We connect through a Chrome browser extension. And then the Chrome browser extension is what talks to the social media platform. Different than an electronic connection back and forth, right? And so what happens is the social media platform can only see what the extension is doing, the speed that the extension is running. Mm-hmm. It can't see past that wall onto your computer. So it doesn't know, like LinkedIn can never tell if you're using automations or AI from our software, or it doesn't also allow anyone to see on your computer to steal any of your data. So it's like fundamentally built differently than all the other tech that's out there. And what's really beautiful about that, most tech, like the ones you mentioned, are linked only to one social media platform. Or maybe if you're linked into the Meta platforms, because there's another, whole group of tech over there that does that, then you're kind of stuck to, Facebook, Instagram, and WhatsApp. But what about LinkedIn? What about X? What about TikTok? What about all these other ones? So our software is the only one of its kind that I'm aware of that actually works for personal direct messages across 15 social media platforms. So when you're ready to go scale, like you said, you're crushing it in LinkedIn. What if we just hit the duplicate button and now we ran a similar campaign on Facebook? Duplicate, run another campaign on IG, another one on Twitter, another one on TikTok, depending on usually what happens when a person comes and works with me and they get into the scale phase, we can outpace the capacity of what their systems and their business can deliver. Does that make sense?
Yeah, makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
This is a break in the podcast to bring you our sponsor, RevyOps.com. That is REVYOPS.com, the #1 GTM data management platform for your GTM and revenue operations data on planet Earth. If you are using the modern stack of Clay and Instantly and Email Bison and RB2B and Trigify and all these various tools scattered across the wind, we unify all that data all into one place so you don't have any duplicates, a unified view of every single contact so you can see all the data and all the activities across all the platforms all in one place. It will allow you and your team to move faster, to get better attribution across the entire funnel, and to make a heck of a lot more money. Go to RevyOps.com, check out how you can get started today with me on a call where we'll learn about your data management problems and how we can get you guys to the next level of growth. See you guys at RevyOps.com. Go there now. It will be in the show notes as well down below. Let's get back to the podcast.
Yeah.
It reminds me of when I go into, say, Hey Reach, and the reason I'm bringing up these other alternatives is because I think people are actively, if they're looking for LinkedIn automation of any sort, especially in the DMs, they're trying to weigh options. And these are the names that come up quite often. I mean, in my particular space of outbound, cold outbound marketing, Hey Reach is kind of the known name. Prosp is kind of on the come up, and LinkedIn Helper is kind of the dinosaur. Now, the fundamental difference that I've seen between those tools is that one, and maybe this is different now, but from what I've seen so far is LinkedIn Helper kind of does what you're describing, where you have a downloaded software on the computer, and it is actually logging in to your account, and it's controlling your account as if it's a user, and then you'll actually see it typing, and you'll see it moving and clicking. Whereas if you go into Prosp or Hey Reach, it's basically you go into a browser-based tab, not a download, and then it automatically just does its thing. And I've always thought, to your point, that the LinkedIn Helper style seems less detectable. But again, I am technical, but I don't really understand the mechanisms of how LinkedIn is checking this. I know there is a speed of action requirement that you're describing, which is like, how fast are the keystrokes? How fast am I clicking? How fast am I making requests? And also the cadence, which isn't the speed, but more the interruptions of typing events. So it's like one stroke of a key A, and then you wait a millisecond, then it's B, then it's 2 milliseconds C. Whereas like a computer might be like millisecond. Seems very deep in the weeds, but I know that people listening to this, and me in particular, because I invest so much time in my profile, am extremely aware of the security risk. And that's why you focusing on that and thinking about that, I think, is a really smart move. Because it's probably my #1 objection, frankly, to LinkedIn automation tools.
Here's what I can say. Over the past 5 years that we've been running this software company as a brand, we've helped over 5,000 founders, and we've never had one person ever get their account suspended permanently, ever. And we're, I think, the only people in the space that can say that. So, or close to it, right? And so what's really unique about what you mentioned, if we go back and talk about the algorithms, anyone listening, like the fast tip here is, if you want to understand what the limitations are that the platform puts on your social profile, use your favorite AI tool and say, hey, tell me everything there is to know about the LinkedIn algorithm when it comes to what are the limitations of what I can and can't do with my personal profile on a day-to-day basis. It's going to spit out a list, because these are all really smart, and these are actually listed places, and you can see, and it really comes down to a lot of things that you were talking about is like speed of and volume of things. And so what I know to be true is every single day, You can't open more than 200 LinkedIn profiles from any one particular profile. So if you have a system that's like opening profile, sending connect request, opening profile, send, those like 2 opens, right? And so like, and then the speed of what clicks, right? So what we set is through our Chrome extension, we just set it to be less than what the algorithm speed would actually like consider a threat. And the other thing what happens is like when someone's first getting started with a tech like this, they're like, hey, I want to hit the go button. I want to go as fast as possible. Yeah, that's what everybody wants. However, the algorithms are tuned to detect spikes in volume. So one of my biggest recommends is like if whatever tech you end up using, just be very careful on the quantity that you're doing from the first day. What I would encourage you to do is ramp up a little bit slowly to the max level that we know to be safe. And again, I've helped thousands and thousands of people do this. For LinkedIn specifically, here's what I will tell you. It's counterintuitive than what everyone else will tell you, but I've just been doing it for so long. And here's what I mean. I've been in 1.3 million direct message conversations. It's just more than anyone I've ever met. And through that, I ended up creating frameworks and what I call the rules of DM copywriting, which I can share with you because there's only 3 of them. And when you know those 3, you win every time. But the thing that I will share with you is this. When you're on LinkedIn and you get this thing to like full volume and speed, 40 connection requests per day, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. So Monday through Friday, the system will allow you to safely send 40 connection requests every single day. However, you must not send that initial connection note. So don't send the note. It will allow you to increase your reach and outbound. And what you said is so valuable, and I think people missed it. So I'm going to slow everyone down, go back to what you said a second ago. Your profile, your brand becomes very valuable here. Because when you send a connection request to somebody, you're not going to be the magician who's got these magic words that says, oh my God, I said this one sentence. Yeah, I'm connecting with that person. It doesn't work that way. This is why text and email and phone suck when it comes to like actually prospecting. The beauty about social media is you have a redundant second layer behind the initial message or the connection request where people can click and creep on your profile. So here's what happens, right? You send the 40 connection requests out, and the expected outcome that we tell our members, because we have it all benchmarked of exact stats and exactly how to grow, and like we have a predictable formula of what you can do to actually really expand, is you want to look for 1 in 4 connection requests that you send to accept based on your profile. So if you send 10, or let's say you send 4 connection requests, you want one person to just look at your profile and accept. If you're hitting that 25% on a daily basis, Monday through Friday, you have an optimized enough profile to move to the next steps, which would then go into kind of the next like framework and the next benchmarks of what you need to hit in order to have a successful campaign. And it's way less than what everyone thinks, right? So here's the next step. After that 1 in 4 connections, the next one goes down to if you send 100 messages, so somebody accepts with you. So now you have a new connection request accepted. So now what do we do, right? So we want to take 100 of those people and send them our first message. And we want to look for 10 to 40 responses. Depending on your price point, if you're around, anywhere, I'd say like if you have a 2K product or higher and you're getting a 10 out of 100, that actually can become like a 7-figure run rate in a DM campaign. And that's what we do. Like we have a 7-figure club. We got 7-figure club, we got 8-figure club. We got a lot of members doing a lot of crazy cool things, but yeah.
I like that you guys got it's like the ClickFunnels club thing that you guys,
I have one up there. You can see that one, right? I got another one over there.
Oh,
and then God. I got and then our company, we've got 6, 7, and 8-figure club. Yeah. So, and like last year alone, we had our first person ever hit the 8-figure club, which was so cool. She's a book publishing author. She does really well with our tech. So it's cool. Yeah.
That is cool. So it sounds like did you pick that up from Russell Brunson, or where did you get the club from?
Oh yeah, that's So I was lucky enough. My journey goes back to, I guess can I tell you my quick story, like how I got to where I got to?
That's why
I think
here.
that's like, this will be really helpful, right? So for everyone that want to know. So when I came out of college, I wanted to be a sales professional. Or I didn't want to be a sales professional. In fact, I went to my dad and I said, hey, how do I make a boatload of money? Because that was more important than anything, right?
Of course.
And he goes, Sean, to make a boatload of money, you got 3 choices. I was like, yes, choices. He goes, are you a CEO? And I go, dude, I don't even know what that letters mean. Like, no, I'm 21 years old, not me. Are you an entertainer? I can't sing or dance, dude. Like, I'm not that either. He goes, you better go learn sales. That was my lesson. So I took this job selling commodities, and I sucked. And I sucked so bad. Here's what I want to share with everyone listening to this. It's like, if you're not great at sales, it's not your fault, and it's okay, right? Because sales is a learned skill. And it took me 2,400 attempts to book an appointment, and I never booked one. I picked up a phone cold calling 80 people a day for 6 weeks straight. Not many people have the stamina to do that. I struck out. I almost quit. My dad says, go to the library to read a book. So I picked up, actually, this book right here. I bought it, Tom Hopkins, Mastering the Art of Sewing Stuff. And I was like, oh my God, there's formulas. And I was like, oh, I just need to learn a few formulas and I can win. So I went back to my office and I started using these formulas. Of course, I messed up a couple, but then I got one right. And the guy's like, yeah, let's book. That moment in time, like, said, this is what I want to do, because I bet there's a lot of other people like me that can't communicate super well. And if I can learn and master this skill, like, I can help other founders to have these great ideas, because everyone comes up with an amazing idea to solve problems and they build the widget and they're like, I don't know how to sell it. Like, that's okay, because you weren't trained to do that, right? And the idea is, I say, like, let's learn to sell, because then you can move the cool thing and you don't go bankrupt, right? And so that was my journey. And then I started using these tools and I started investing deeply into sales training. I've spent over $500,000 on, I invested in over 40 different selling systems. I dissected them all down and I realized, like, here's the fundamental concepts of what it takes to close deals, right? And I started applying these things and I started closing a bunch. In fact, I took a company from 3 million to 40 million in 9 months, just with those fundamentals. And I made so much commission, I ended up buying my own electronics company in Vegas, moved out there early 2000s, took the same fundamentals, and I grew that business from 250K to 8.5 million. And then my business partner sold it out from behind me. Bad deal. After that, I went into the roofing space, took a job selling roofing material in the desert, of all places, right? It doesn't rain in the desert, but I was selling roofing material. I broke all their sales records, and I realized roofers are not my people. Like, they kind of lie, cheat, and steal. So I'm like, sorry, dude, I'm out. That's not me. And then my wife was like, how can we do this online? 2016, I saw a paid ad on Facebook. This little guy, hey, I made all this money online. I do marketing. I was like, what is marketing? Because I don't know what that is. I'm a sales guy. All I thought was, if that little system can bring eyeballs, I can convert them. And so that's what happened, right? We joined. It was a network marketing product on the back, Kangen water systems. And then on the front, we had this little marketing system. And we started to learn paid ads to cold traffic. And it took, if you've never done that before, it's like learning a language, right? Ben, have you done paid ads before?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So it's like, you need to understand the language of paid ads to do it really well. Well, it took us about 50 grand in 6 months to learn. And then we started to produce from our ads. And I thought we hit it out the park, because by the end of 2016, we made like 300K in personal take home. We're like, that's a pretty good number. February 17th of 2017, Zucker flagged all of my accounts. He said, you can no longer do paid ads. And I was like, oh my God, what are we going to do? And my wife was like, you just had all this money spent on all these ads. You have all these people that have liked and commented but haven't bought. Why don't you just go talk to them? And I was like, that's it. How do I do it? DMs. And then that was the process of how we started down this path. And we ended up breaking every sales record that company had ever had. We got on their magazines, all this cool stuff. And that, after about 2 years of that, one of our clients was like, you guys need a software, because the one you bought from the other guy right over there, like, it's broken, because it was pretty janky. And so we ended up, at the time, we had joined Russell Brunson's inner circle. Love Russell Brunson. He's I think he's the best marketer in the world, actually.
He's great.
I think he's the best. I don't think there's a better one. So he was like, I said, how do we build a software company? He's like, meet these software guys. So we met these software guys. We spent $1 million. We built the first software. It's called Digital Genius Lab. It taught paid ads to cold traffic. It also taught DMs. And that thing exploded for us. It did 13 million in 10 months. Wow. And I burned out to a very dark place. In fact, I remember driving to Russell Brunson's mastermind. I got off the phone with an angry client. I saw a tree and I said, F this, I'm going to drive in the tree. I didn't drive in the tree because my wife, my best friend, was in that passenger seat next to me. She saved my life at that day. And I stopped crying, like messy. I was like, I can't do this presentation I was going to do for Russell. Like, I got to tell him the truth. So I go in the room and I feel this big against all those people, because they're like 100 million humongous big people. And I was like, look, guys, like, I have a software company. It's done some cool things. It 8 figures in less than a year. Like, that's pretty remarkable from my standpoint.
It's amazing.
Yeah, like, yeah. And like all the guys in the room were like, yeah, that's pretty good. And then I took him on the journey. And at the end, Russell stands up and he says, Sean, you're a level 10 guy doing a level 2 thing. Change the vehicle, sell your software company, kill the baby. That's what he told me. I was like, wait, what? He goes, yeah, kill the software because it's stealing your soul, right? Okay, I'm coachable. How do we do that? So it took us a year. We exited from the first software company, which is great. And I was like, Russell, what do we do? He said, Sean, what are you good at? I said, sales. He said, all these online guys need a bit of help with sales. So I was like, okay, well, I don't have an ad account, so what am I going to do? I made a dream list of 50 people, and we started DMing those people. We booked 42 calls. We had those calls, and by the end, 5 of them said we're not getting off the phone until we put together a deal. That was the birth of our high-ticket agency. What we did was we hire, onboard, and train a sales team for these entrepreneurs. So first month, hire the people, train them how to sell. By the end of the 5th month, we had seen 100% month-over-month growth, because they learned they had a selling system and a team now. And then all of a sudden, all these entrepreneurs, Sean, thank you so much for the sales team, but now I can't sleep at night. You know why? And I was like, no, why? Because I don't have a predictable system of how to get more leads in front of the sales team you just built. And I was like, oh, I didn't think this was a problem for anybody, but here's a system that we used before the internet. Here, put it in your business, just through DMs. And every business started going boom, 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 boom. So my business partner and I were like, yo, let's build a mastermind. So we ended up launching a mastermind. We did, just to prove it, we started with 0 list. We did 100 grand in 40 days, 41 days, right? Say, here, this method works. It's bulletproof. Like anyone could do it. We started selling this $25,000 mastermind to prove it. And we had dozens and dozens of businesses go through our mastermind. And then 2 years later, so we had 83% success rate, meaning after the mastermind had finished, right? It was a year long. So we had 3 months of put the system in your business and then hire the virtual assistant to run it for you. And then 9 months of advanced coaching. That was the mastermind. And we sold it for $25,000. And we had 83% success rate, meaning every month they continued to grow at least 10% or more. That was the metric. And so like it's big success. 2 years in, one of our clients says, Sean, you need another software. Well, I had PTSD from the first one, but I was like, okay, well, like, shoot. And we messaged we DM'd CTOs. We found one named Bruno. Hey, Bruno, what do you do? Well, Sean, 2017, I built this really cool tech, but I have no clients. What do you guys do? We have thousands of clients, but we don't have a cool tech like that. Hey, let's try it. Here's 100. Let's see what happens. We put 100 clients in. Everything breaks. Oh, shoot. Right? But then Bruno fixed it in like 24 hours. It was like incredible. And I was like, that's not real. Let's try it again. Another 100. Boom. More stuff broke. He hired a team member and fixed it faster. I was like, okay, if that's how you want to play, we're going to come in. We merged and acquired his whole company, redressed it, and launched it as Flowchat early 2021. And we offered it as a part of our mastermind. That was the only way you could get it. And after some time in the mastermind, people are like, hey, screw the mastermind, Sean. We just want the software. And say, okay, we're listening to the market. Like, that's what they want. Like, and then we closed down the mastermind. We shut down our agency, and we leveraged the tech. And we've been focused in building it. First 3 years was form function and make sure it's protection and privacy for our members. And then the last 2 years, when automation and AI was even born, hey, if we don't get on that tidal wave, we're out. And so we have some of the groundbreaking tech in AI space when it comes to personal DMs. We have the ability, if you have your own AI that's trained in your own voice, you can actually hook that into our system now, and you can run all your personal DMs. Like, it's really, really cool tech. Like, and that's the key, right? Because when you have something that's that sticky and you turn it on, people are like, oh my God, like, what would I do without this? It's one of those moments, right? And that's where Flowchat came from.
That's awesome. So
yeah.
So I want everybody who's listening to this to go back and watch that whole story again, because there was things you just did that I think are meta, and I'm gonna point them out.
Nice.
That I know you're doing them for a certain reason, and it's come across as an amazing story. But I want people to also learn from what you just did, because it was so effective. By the end of it, I was like, shit, I gotta sign up. You know, like I'm like, oh my God, I gotta get on this Flowchat. How do I do business with this guy?
Funny.
But you know, there's a really, it's actually, I think this is going to be the Russell Brunson show. So we're gonna talk about Russell Brunson a lot. I've
Cool.
learned a lot
Let's
from
do
him as well.
I had a front seat. I had a front seat watching him when he started with ClickFunnels, 10,000 members, and then I watched him rip it to over 100. I got to see him do $100 million in 5 years, and I was like, I have a model that I can now copy.
Dude.
Right? That's pretty amazing.
We have so much to talk about. So I was not as front row as you. I was kind of in the bleachers, but I was there, and I was at the conferences, and I was there from pretty much when he started pitching it, when he turned on the book funnel, and it kind of went crazy. But really respected what he did. And I'm going to quote him where he says, like, if something's not working, there's one of three things that are wrong, which it's either your hook, your story, or your offer. He says that all the time. And you just talked about there was a hook, but the story was what just happened. And he has this whole like framework for storytelling. You kind of followed it pretty closely to that, that path of like an unreluctant hero, gets called to action, wasn't some amazing person in the beginning, but then through sheer force of will and grit and effort, was called to action and became something more than he was in the beginning. It's the hero's journey you just went on, right? And there's a great book for anyone listening called The Tale of Two Heroes, which talks about
Michael Haug.
And the reason the book's amazing is that what makes us attracted to people is character development over the course of a journey. And so it's not just like, hey, I went on this journey and, like the wizard told me there's this evil ring, Lord of the Rings. We have to go kill it in the mountain fire, and then there's trials and tribulations, and then you end up succeeding. That's like the obvious story, but there's a second story, which is how does Frodo become Frodo? Or how does Gandalf become the White Wizard? And there's that deeper kind of love of the character of they had to develop certain characteristics like courage and I don't know, just anything, grit, attention to detail, whatever. Like there's so many different things that could be developed. And I'm curious because like, maybe I need to revise my story because my story is kind of like, hey, sales has always been easy as hell for me, and maybe I need to be like,
some people are lucky like that, dude.
But I don't know if it's a good story. For me, like the number one thing is like, I have a real, one of my core values is truth seeking. Say the truth. It is what it is. Just be honest, be authentic, and let the cards fall. But
you can't argue. You can't argue against the truth.
Yes,
that's
the
true. Soundbite, right?
But that said, I think from a selling, like if I'm trying to be more persuasive, I think it is easier. I think the persuasive hero's journey is, I came from nothing. I was nothing. And here I am, Now, what happened for me is I had a natural, and I think you do too. And so that's where I think you're downselling yourself, which is like, you're extremely articulate. You're obviously well-spoken. You're obviously extremely smart. So I would say, maybe you weren't the best salesperson, but you obviously have intangible gifts. But I'm really interested in just the way you positioned yourself. And have you thought deeply about this, or is that just something that, like, I want to know, like I want to know the meta level. What's going on?
Real talk. It was the Funnel Hackathon event at Russell Brunson's marketing, the very first one in Dallas. He was like, hey, buy this Funnel Hackathon thing. Yeah, so that's the one I bought. That was the first 10K I spent with. I spent over $250,000 with the guy because I think he's the best in the world. And I went to that Funnel Hackathon and I met now one of my closest friends, Steve Larson. If you know who Steve Larson is, we just did a 3-day live event with him about DM mastery in his dope-ass place in Idaho. But when I went to that Funnel Hackathon, I realized what you just talked about. And so I learned to build my perfect webinar. And then I took, and like Russell said, he goes, run it every day or run it for a year, run it live for at least 50 times before you turn it evergreen. Well, I did it 2 times a week, every week for 3 years straight before I turned it into an evergreen. And I got so into the story and I revised it 10 million times. And that's where I can just now spit it out most of the time because it just comes from so many reps at the plate. You said so many good things there, Ben. I just want to hit on a couple, right? Somebody once asked me, they said, Sean, if there was one thing to make you absolutely the best at sales, what would it be? I thought about this for years and years and years and years, and I couldn't come up with an answer until I finally came up with an answer. The answer is there's not one thing, there's 3, right? And so this is what I'll share with people that are learning sales or trying to grow a business or doing whatever they're doing. Like, number 1, base hits win championships. Don't ever forget that, right? If you do the basics, the base hits, and you do it fundamentally every day. Hormozy talked about it in his book launch. Every big hitter will always talk about if you get really good at the basics, you will win championships. So what are the basics when it comes to sales? Okay, so number one, you have to have conviction. If you don't have conviction in what you sell, meaning you wouldn't sell it to yourself or your family member, here's what you need to do. Pull out a piece of paper and write down the list of all the reasons that are going on in your head. I call it head trash, of why you're not convicted about the thing that you're selling. Then drink some wine or beer or have a joint or whatever, and then look at those reasons and convince yourself on why those are stupid things that you wrote down on the piece of paper. And if you can't do that, give it to someone you trust, like a business partner or a mentor, and have them convince you on why those are dumb ideas so you can get convicted. Because once you have conviction, now we move to rule number, the second thing is consistency. If you don't have, I can teach someone to sell at one of the highest levels of all times in a weekend, right? But if you don't have a consistent flow of opportunities coming into the door, you'll never get good at sales. So the second thing you need to do is practice the craft that you just learned. You need opportunities. So you have to be consistent about always doing the things, like to get meetings booked, to have the sales calls. I still take 3 to 5 sales calls every single week myself, right? Never changed for like 30 years, right? And then the last thing is know that people are going to kick you in the teeth, punch you in the face, rip your face off. Like, it's going to hurt. But you got to have persistency. So 1, conviction. 2, consistency, reps at the plate. 3, you better have persistency. It's like Les Brown says, if you get down and you can see up, you better get up and just keep going, right? And that's the key, right? So like what you were talking about is like the hero's journey, Michael Howell's book, Russell's formulas. Like I spent a lot of time trying to memorize those frameworks, and then I deployed them into my work. And just doing that repetition over and over, and the consistency of actually taking action got me to a place where now I can position myself as the guide, never the hero. That's the idea with that whole situation, right?
Yeah.
Because if I can tell you, like, look, dude, I've done it for myself, but I've done it for these millions of people over here. You could do it too. Let's help you.
100%. And I would say, like, in my own personal development, my starting point was I was actually a nonprofit fundraiser.
Sweet,
and
dude. That's awesome.
Yeah, and I was making like $25,000 a year. I was a philosophy major. I had no prospects. Like when I came out of school, I was like, what am I doing? You know, and I was a bartender. Yeah. And so I guess that's kind of my humble beginnings, right? But
that teaches you communication. It teaches you to watch people. Like there's so many things you can take from being a bartender that I think are amazing, right? Like you can learn personality. You can understand modality. Most people don't even talk about that. Like I teach the psychology of sales because when you understand the frameworks in psychology and how to hit somebody in a reptilian brain, like you can close a deal any size of any deal from anywhere, right? Like,
yeah,
that's
no
the
doubt.
secrets.
Well, what I did realize, the one like silver lining that came out of all of it was when I remember I went into it was a clean water action. I went to University of Pittsburgh, and I went downtown, Craigslist ad. So I was like, shit, I need money, man. I'm a poor broke 19-year-old. Give me some lunch money. And I saw this thing for, it was like $5-6 an hour, but there was bonuses. And I applied, I went down, and they gave me a script. And they said, you have 30 minutes to learn the script. We're going to put you on this, like, it was a rotary style phone. So I was like, ding, ding. And I'm like, it was like pieces of paper. It was like literally just like a stack of papers with people's names on it and how much they had donated the last year. Because the way that the nonprofit worked was you would send out a field canvas. They would go door to door, get the initial funds, and then there would be a call center after the fact to follow up on them. So we were the call center. So I got the script. I go get on the phone, and I just said it exactly how they told me to say it. And I raised $700 that night. And the amount that I had to reach was $150, and the average across all reps was like $220 or something like that.
Nice.
And
dude.
so they were like, how did you do that? And I was like, I read the script. Like, what do you mean? And they're like, yeah, but what you just did doesn't happen on the leads you have, like the Glengarry, you know, these were not the Glengarry leads. These were the like $5 donation. You shouldn't be converting leads. And so I was like, well, hell, I was like, I don't know, give me some more. So they gave me another pile of shit. And I was like, next day, $1,000 or whatever it was. Yeah. And they were like, what is this guy doing? Is he cheating? And it was this kind of like aha moment where I was like, whatever I'm doing, it was a natural born thing. And I didn't realize that that kind of natural ability would carry me through kind of the next 20 years of my development. No, I guess not 20, I'm 36. So whatever, 17 years ago. But that was the start. But then I went through a bunch of crazy shit like you did with business partners. And I didn't even know what marketing was. Like, ask me what marketing was. I don't know what marketing is. And so I went through my own development journey. But I think from listening to you, I'm like, man, I need to polish my own origin story better. Because I think one of the things I don't do well, which you said, which is extremely important, is do not be the hero. Like, you are the guide, right? And I think the problem is I've positioned myself as the hero too much. And I need to position myself as the guide more from a personal branding standpoint. And this is, again, one of my core values is growth mindset. I don't care about looking stupid. I could do things wrong 1,000 times, but if you tell me I'm wrong, I will pivot on a dime, baby. Like, let's go. So that's interesting. So how do you make sure, as a follow-up to all of that, how do you make sure that you don't position yourself as the hero? How do you become the guide in the story? What is the framework?
There's like, that's a pretty actually tough question. But I would just share, it's like relatability is important. I think, like, if you could tell a story where somebody can like portray themselves in your story, whether it be about you or somebody that you know or a client you have, I think that's one way to do it. But if that's too hard for you to do, I always talk about like, hey, we've done it for ourselves and that's cool, but push that into the closet and then say, let me tell you about Bob, who's like really similar to you. And here is Bob's struggles and journeys and what he did. And here's how he used our stuff to get to the next level. So kind of that client testimonial angle, if you need an easy pathway into that, becomes very simple to start telling stories. So, and this is really valuable when you're getting a client results. Go ask them if you can interview them to figure out how and why they got results. And then you're going to, okay, so number one, that becomes great marketing content where you can just throw it out anywhere. But number two, you're going to learn how to tell their story from their perspective. And when you start telling their stories to your new future prospects, guess what? They'll be like, dude, I'm just like Bob. I have the exact same problems as Bob. Bob solved it that way. Why didn't I think of that? Like, I could probably do that too. And they're thinking about Bob. They're not thinking about me, right? And that's really the focus. If you can focus them on, hey, what's your journey? Where's the transformation? What are you trying to get to? Right. Mm-hmm. And it's what you said earlier that I think makes you so good. Like, number one, I think the reason you're good, there's a lot of them. Bartender, you got a lot of skills, like ancillary skills from being a bartender. Then you were in a call center. That is a grinder, dude. It's a cold boiler room style of getting on the phone, getting rejection. So you built up this persistent level of, I don't care, I'll change on a dime. That's because you took so many reps, and that's the consistency. So the reason you're a great sales professional is because you have conviction, you've done the consistency, and you're persistent as a mother trucker because you worked at a call center, right? So it's like you hit the things. And so it's like, great, dude, congratulations. Like, if people haven't hit those things, like what skills or what power can they draw on to be in that spot, right?
I would say that it wasn't, I would say it happened well earlier than that. So going way back, I mean, this is now back into my childhood. This is like kind of it probably came from a childhood wound, honestly. I went through this thing called Landmark. And if anyone hasn't done Landmark, it's like a self-development coaching program. And one of the things they ask you to do is find the inciting event, which is like, what is the thing that like caused you create what they call the act? I'm totally ruining Landmark for anybody who's about to go through it. But basically, like, when you go into this, you have to find out what is that like deepest old childhood wound that like caused you to, when put under pressure, act in a certain way. And they call that the act, the way you act. And my story was, I remember being in preschool, and I was always very creative, and I was always very able to just think on my feet, but I was kind of absent-minded. Like, I was just like you couldn't hold my attention long if I was bored. And so I remember just being in class, bored out of my mind in preschool, staring up at the ceiling, just asking me when I would like actually grow out of this horrible child body. And I remember seeing on the board, this woman like puts this big like circle, and she goes, "This is a period." That's all I remembered. And she's like, Ben, and she called me out of like the blue, and like, you know, that feeling when you're like, your asshole tightens a little
On
bit.
the hot seat. Oh, yeah. You're like half asleep. You're like, whoa, what's going on?
Yeah. And she's like, Ben, come up here. Show us what a period is. And so she has this like sentence, like the fox jumped over the bear, like something like that. And I went up, and all I remember is there's a big circle, you know, and I just went and I drew the big circle, you know, and she just crushed me in front of the class. She was like, what are you doing? Are you paying attention? Like, da-da-da-da-da. And she just like killed me. She's like, go to your seat. And this is Philadelphia, 1993. And if you don't know about Philadelphia, it's like very direct, intense, sarcastic. There's no love in terms of the vibe, even though it's the city of brotherly love, ironically. And this was in the inner city because I was at a preschool where my dad was a federal prosecutor. And so he would drop us off there in the morning and we would stay there all day. So the act I came up with that I believe, maybe this is all not true, but this is the thing I think that happened, is my act was, I'll show you, which is I will never be caught again. Even as I'm saying this, I feel it. Like, I'm like, you will never catch me out of place again. I will be better and I will be perfect and I will be ready, you know? And so from then on out, it created this drive in me to beat everybody. And like, it was like, you will not beat me. Like, I'm like, if we were playing ping pong, if you beat me once, come back in a week, baby, because I'm coming for you. And in wrestling and track and field, I became really obsessive. So by the time I got to, say, cold calling, they gave me that script and I was like, I will be the best.
I'm going to win.
Yeah, exactly. So that's where it came from.
Yeah.
So I don't know, but that's my insight.
I love the story. I think I think people can take a lot of value from that. Like, do that thought exercise. Where'd you come from? Right. So I what's interesting is like, you can always kind of, I taught extended disc personality for a really long time as a sales professional. I taught other sales professionals. I've trained over 8,000 salespeople, and I've worked with over 5,000 businesses with this particular software product. But if you can identify somebody's personality profile in the first couple of sentences, and then you can understand their modalities. So modalities is different. Most people don't talk about modality. Here's the modalities, right? You got visual, you got audio, and you got kinesthetic, and you've got audio digital. There's only 4. And the secret is, if you can understand what they call a codex, people speak in a codex. So they'll say like a visual word, an audio word, and then like a kinesthetic word, 1, 2, 3 in that order, right? And if I can listen, and it's a very kind of more complex skill to get to, but if I can listen to your sentences, that's why I take a lot of notes. Like, here, look at my last sales call. I even wrote down, so he's a high I, slow DC, and he's a VKV. So if I know that in my sales conversation, then I can be like, okay, if I rephrase in a VKV codex all the stuff I'm trying to sell to him, it naturally floats right into his filter. And if I do it in his personality, he can't even see it coming. And that's the true secret behind, like, and again, if you look at my track record over the last, I think it's like almost 6-7 years now, my average close rate, because I always wanted to be like, compete like you, I love to compete, right? And so I always thought, like, how do I compete in sales? Well, I'd always be at the top of the class for every sales company that I ever worked for. And I was like, but there's no way to like challenge myself against the rest of the world. And I thought about it forever and ever. I was like, I wish I could build the sales Olympics, because that'd be fun. Like, I'd invite people like you and we'd go compete and everyone's like, and then who's the best, right? But then I thought, like, if we don't have sales Olympics and I don't want to go do that, like, what could I do? And I thought about it forever, and I only came up with it like last year. I thought, like, the only way to really determine who's the best salesperson is to look at the biggest track record possible and see the average close rate, because that's going to be universal. Mine's 52.4% over 6 years, right? Like, that's a really high. I've never heard anyone that's had a higher number than that. I mean, like, there's might be 1 or 2 people, but
I'm 52.5. I'm just kidding.
I'm kidding. Winning. I'm kidding.
Like,
I'm kidding. Hey, dude, high five.
I'm kidding. I don't know what.
But yeah, that's my point. Like, I love how competitive you are when it comes to that, because I was like, that to me told me, like, that actually gave me validation and eliminated all my imposter syndrome about being good at sales, because I had so much imposter syndrome. I'm like, I don't know if I'm good. I think I am, but I'm not. I don't know, right? And it was like, what do I need? And this is, anybody that has imposter syndrome, please listen to this next sentence that I'm going to tell you, because this will change your life, right? If you have imposter syndrome about anything, you need to ask yourself one question. That question is, what do I need to see to believe that I'm good at this thing? What do I need to see to believe that I'm a wonderful or one of the best salespeople in the world? And then answer that question, and then that will make your imposter syndrome float away.
What is that guy's name? That's Tony Robbins' left hand man. It's Dean.
Dean Graziosi?
You just totally channeled Dean Graziosi when you said that. Because there's he's selling a book, and he said exactly what you just said, but in a different way. And it just, dude, I love you're like literally like I love the have you watched the thing Mega Man? His cartoon when we were at least when I was a child. I don't know how old you are. I'm 36, so I don't want to like 44. Okay, 40. So we're in the same range. But in the 90s, there was Mega Man, and he would take the superpowers of certain people. And about 20 years ago, I learned something from my brother. Well, my brother's 8 years younger than me. He was like 11. But I liked the way that he said thank you. And he goes, thank you. Thank you. I really liked it. I don't know. It felt good. And so now, like, when I see a characteristic of a person I like, because all we are as humans are like an amalgamation of all these different little personality traits that we can pick up. And to your own point, like, we can become that. I really believe in that. I believe we can become whatever we want. We can mold ourselves into anything. So for me, like, Russell Brunson, when he's on video, it's almost like, it's like this kind of like crazy, like intense energy. And I noticed that. I really liked, what's his name? The guy who always says, I'm the richest consultant in the world. Who is that? I can't remember his name, but he has such a pleasant way on like video. And so I see these people, or Dean or whoever, and I go, I'm going to steal a piece of that. I'm going to, and I think that that's like an important thing, like for any salesperson, is like, it's almost like acting in a way where it's like in the beginning, you got to find the audience's tone. So I went from selling over the phone to like nice, like, upper middle class, moms, to then I went to political guys, in a political party selling at the state government level. And then I switched over to oil field service company owners.
Wow.
And then I went to...
What a different group of people. That's crazy, bro.
Exactly. And so...
That just sharpened your sales game, bro. Like, that's amazing.
Well, the tone... So, like, oil field people, if you talk in anything faster than what I'm about to say right now, and if you have any more affect than this, you've lost them. Versus, like, if I'm at the door, I'm going to say, hey, how's it going? Like, I'll be, like, super fast. So I just think that, like, playing with these different ways of being, and literally, like, it's like there's a great, what's that copywriting book called, like, where the guy goes to jail? Oh, I can't remember. Anyways,
I've read so many, I couldn't tell you. I don't know.
He talks about this idea of taking great copywriters and literally just, like, he gives you, it's something called the something letters. But it's like, he says...
Oh, Gary Halbert? Is it Gary Halbert?
Yeah. What's the name of that book?
I don't know. I studied Gary Halbert and Caleb O'Dowd and all of the greats. So, yeah, like Enrique Albuquerque. What's his name? Enrique... Evaldo Albuquerque. There's another 16-word sales letter. Yeah, cool.
So it's called the something letters, but he's basically in jail writing to his son, teaching his son copywriting because he believes copywriting is important. And he said the number one thing you can learn to be a great copywriter is to go take great copy and rewrite it. And he's like, you're wiring your brain to write like that. And same thing with like watching Dean pitch, or even listening to this and watching you do what you're doing right now. Or frankly, anybody who's good at what they do, just like sit there and then go in the mirror and just do it. Like, even if it feels awkward, just do it. So I like, you can see I'm not trying to overanalyze here, but I'm very interested in pointing things out that I think are solid that you're doing, because it's like, that's, I think, why people will listen to me, is that I'm more than just like superficial. Let's talk about Flowchat. I'm like, let's talk about like the deep issues. Let's talk about like what's moving the needle here, which is these kind of meta level discussions. So anyways, I apologize if I'm going too deep into this, but it's geeking me out.
I love it, man. I geek out about communication every day. That's what I'm on this earth to help founders communicate better. That's why I'm here. And so, at least as much as I know, like, that's, it's like Mark Twain said, like, two most important days of your life is the day you're born and the day you figure out why. So, yeah, I don't know. I enjoy communicating. I enjoy helping others communicate better and close deals, because closed deals is like one of the most satisfying feelings of all time, right?
Well, I
So-
can see how you're really effective because I mean, you even got like I feel excited right now. I'm like usually on these podcasts, I'm kind of like, but like you're waking me up.
All right.
Do you have a sense? You've talked to me now for an hour or so. Maybe you haven't been analyzing me like a sales prospect. Have you picked up on my disc?
Of course.
What is it? I'm super
You're
curious.
high eye. Yeah, so like you're definitely high eye because you love people, you're extroverted, and then you're definitely you've got a lot of C in you. But then since you're being a business owner, you're a D, so it'd be like ICD, and then I'd stop, and I would communicate you. High eyes are the who people, so I'm going to throw names at you. Right, high eyes are the always want to have fun, keep it light, but then go deep on topics that make sense for them, right? And then that's how you treat an eye. And then like your codex, it's like VVK, I think, is what I heard in the first two sentences. I do it and then forget about it, and then I just like it just comes out now because I've done it so much. And so like that's how I would respond to you in almost every phrase. Yeah.
So you
What
are
do
actually
you know?
good.
Do you know your disc?
I took it. So I used to do for sales hiring. I wish if we had more moments and I could pause the podcast, I'd actually pull up my disc assessment. I do have it, but somebody who was doing hiring for years ago said they were doing it for hiring, and I was like, I want to try this. And I found the disc company that sells it. It was the same guy for Tony Robbins that sells it for him. And so I became a big subscriber of theirs, and I put all of my sales hires through it. And they had this very specific like assessment curve of like the ideal sales archetype. And so I was like to a T, what they wanted to look for. But what I found was like the analysis I got from the disc was they would give you these big kind of like training tips and kind of like in these scenarios, this is what's going to happen. And I would then take that on the interview and say, it says this, do you agree? And I would get them to psychoanalyze themselves. And I thought I did that for a few years, and I thought that would allow me to like understand the person better. And I found out like I was bullshitting myself. Like, I think I made so many bad sales hires just because like some guy convinced me that his disc assessment was accurate. So I stopped using the disc and I went to something called the 3-day challenge, which is a whole different discussion on how I do sales hiring. But why do you ask? What's the...
No, I was just wondering if you knew what you were, you still used it. I think that's cool. I mean, like I actually have a course called Personality Selling, and it's like, I always talk about like most selling systems. The first step is to establish rapport in some form, right? I call it bond and connect. Bond and connect. So you bond over something that you can chat about, but you connect on a primal brain-to-brain level by understanding personality and modality and being able to speak that way throughout the remainder of the call to stay in rapport. And that's more valuable in like our selling system that we teach is like step one is bond and connect. Here's what we got to know about the things. And it's just the minimum effective dose of what you need to understand. So anyone listening, here's the tip, okay? And when you first get into a sales conversation, whether it be on Zoom specifically, let's start with Zoom, okay? Mirror and match everything about your prospect. If they lean this way, you lean this way. If they lean in, you lean in. If they talk slow, you talk slow, right? And if you could start to do that just for the first 90 seconds, you'll slip by their conscious brain and you'll hit their primal brain, and then you'll keep rapport as long as the conversation doesn't go stale, and you'll be able to close more deals. I promise.
It's very apparent to me through this conversation that, it's funny because my thing says next gen sales leaders. Sales has been so intuitive to me that when people, because I went through Sandler and, the Robert thing, and there's a bunch of different ones, but I did it and it just still seemed like a waste of time to me, but because it was so intuitive to me that it was like, why do I need to know this? And I think that that's a bit of detriment to my sales leadership, because the way I look at the world is, salespeople are born, not made. And you have a different take. And I appreciate that. And I'm reflecting on myself saying, what I'm really, 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 really good at is sales process and sales operations and automation and just knowing how to move people through. I'm also just naturally good at pitching. And I did create a whole book called The $1 Million Pitch to break down my methodology. It's based upon breakthrough advertising's Eugene Schwartz. But nonetheless, I don't spend nearly as much time as you do thinking about this in terms of like the psychology of sales, because I just assume people should have it. But I'm curious, like, I don't know. I guess I'm saying that because I'm just reflecting on my own shortcomings, I guess.
Well, you don't have shortcomings. It's just experience, dude. Like, I train salespeople and a lot of them. And so when I came across a superstar like you, I just gave you the tools that I knew that would let you to explode. And you just go, dude. Like, you run, you do the thing, like you're winning, right? And then I cheer you on. And for you, the way to motivate you is to be your cheerleader, right? Now, if I have another person over here who's like super in the weeds tech, like you got the ability to be tech, but you're naturally not the tech, right? So that's kind of like a forced skill that you learn. Most people that start in tech world are amazing at building something complicated, but then they can't communicate worth a darn to anybody, right? And so for those people, we need to give them the step-by-step guide in order for them to understand and process, and then come through and say, okay, that's the process. What's my process look like? How does it match? How does it set up? Okay, I'm going to do step 1, step 2, right? And so like when I started training the different personalities, I recognized patterns quickly. It was like, oh, this person has this pattern, be a cheerleader and they'll win, right? This person needs the step-by-steps. Here, be the coach that gives them the step-by-steps and all the forms, the documents, the process, everything. And then over here, it's like, oh, this person is the results-based person. Say this line, you'll get that result. Go do it. Right, and you just direct them that way. And so if you have the right personalities, you know what to how to help people get to the next level, and that only comes from just teaching others to do the thing. Now, in your case, you hadn't. I mean, obviously, closing like a boss, no question. But like, I just have a different perspective because I've gone through more of an experience than you have. That's all.
Yeah, well, I mean, to be fair, I'm short selling myself. I've trained like 300 different sales teams, and I built them from grounds up.
Nice.
And I have something called Scale Ops. So my offer is to go in, install an entire inside sales system from cradle to grave. There's a full SDR training, all the skills you need. How do you analyze call scripts? So I'm probably short selling myself when I said all that. But I would say that I have a lower tolerance for bullshit when it comes to sales reps, where it's like, if you don't have it to some degree, like if there's not that like natural drive, natural ability to overcome objections, that natural kind of subtle intellect to like, see around corners and know when an objection's coming up. That's when I'm like, should I train this or should I just move on to the next guy who has a little bit more? But I would say that the thing I could do a better job on is this deeper level of analyzing the other person on the other, like the DISC assessment, going, oh, they're whatever it is. And so that I'm giving you kudos that it's just another level of thinking.
Yeah, I appreciate that. That's super cool, right? It also kind of leads into like, how do you teach other people, right? So the best way like that I've found to teach somebody, like Picasso says, good artists copy, great artists steal, right? If you're the great artist, steal the framework, don't steal the words. If you're the good artist, people just word for word verbatim copy people, right? And so this is one of the things that I learned over years and years in a million DM conversations. It's like every DM conversation has a framework, and there's only 4 steps. And if you know those 4 steps and you understand like the rules of DM copywriting, is why I wrote this book, right? Is the rules of DM copywriting and the framework. You get it in one place, you win. And so if for anyone that wants to get good in the DMs, here's 3 tips. The 3 first, the rules of DM copywriting. Write these down. Super valuable, okay? Because you've never heard them before. Number 1, never use the person's first name in the first 5 words of any DM you send. Never use the person's first name in the first 5 words of any sentence you send. Example.
Okay. So
example.
Why is that?
Example. If I said, hey, Ben, I love that you're crushing next-gen sales leaders, period. And I sent that to you as a first message, and then you looked at your unread inbox, everyone else, hey, Ben, hi, Ben, Ben, what's up, Ben, Ben. Everyone says your first name first. So if we want to stand out, don't say that. Be different. And so the way to be different is like, next-gen sales leaders kicks ass, comma, Ben, period. That one's going to get you to respond. That's rule number 1. Okay.
But can we just pause there for a sec? Because this is why you just got to always be learning. Because it's such a stupidly obvious thing, and I've never even thought about that. I'm gonna start that tomorrow, man. So thank you for that. Okay, so what's the next one?
Watch your response rates. They'll triple. Okay. Next one, right? The next one is always end every DM with a question unless you intentionally don't. And the question should be something that you and the prospect probably already know the answer to. Right? So it's like you get to the point in the DM where you want to book a call and you're like, hey, just book a call on my calendar here. Most people stop there. I would say, let me know after you've booked a call so I make sure my system's working okay. Because when that person comes back and says, okay, like, boom, now I have free reign to go back and send the next message, which would be the clear future. What's the next step that's coming in the process? And then they would know it. It also allows you to stay in rapport and keep the conversation moving at all times. So always end every DM in a question, unless, like, as an opener, the best way to open is to drop a comment and then tell them you're busy. So it's be like, next gen sales leaders kicks ass, Ben. I want to keep the convo going, but I got to hop in this call. I'll be back tomorrow to keep the convo going, okay? You are like, this guy said something awesome to me. I don't know who the hell he is, but that's cool. And you'll probably say, thanks. I just got engagement. That's all I'm trying to do for my first message. I'm not trying to sell you anything for my first message. I'm trying to get engagement. Because when I get engagement, now I have rights to go back and hit the second message. And if I said I'm coming back tomorrow, and then I actually come back tomorrow, I just gain trust with you. So my next message the next day, 24 hours later, I'm back, ... Had more time to think about next gen sales leaders question, boom, whatever that question is about your thing. And now we're in a juicy conversation, right? And what's happened is I said what I was going to do, and then I did what I was going to say. And now I've instantly built trust with you without you even knowing I did that, right? And so now I've got my engagement, which is step one of the framework of a DM conversation. There's 4 of them. Get engagement. Once you get engagement where they've responded, now we start the transition. This is where most people get stuck, okay? And the secret is you want to create 1 or 2 questions that drive every conversation to the outcome you want. So in our world, we sell DMs. So if I was an engaged conversation with you, Ben, I would say, have you ever closed a deal through the DMs before? That's what I'd ask. Be my transition question. Because you could say yes or no. If you say yes, I ask, was it by design, like you intended to, or was it by accident? Easy question for you to answer. And either way leads to a book call. Hey, I did it by design. Oh, Sean or Ben, do you want to scale that thing across all the other platforms? Maybe we should have a call. You interested in that? Yeah, that'd be great. Booking link. Boom. If you say, no, I don't know how it happened. It was by a fluke. What if there was a way to do that all the time? Let's talk about it. I'll show you how I did it with this other guy over here. Booked call. Okay? So either way, it always leads to a booked call. So the transition question, and this took us like 4 years to come up with that question. We tested thousands of them. And so for your business, really think about, like, if I were able to get into a live event with you and we're in the hallway, I tell people the DMs are the hallway of social media. Okay, so when you're in the hallway of a live event, how do you talk to somebody should be about the same way you DM them, right? That's the secret. And then if you can create that 1 or 2 transition questions that drives them down the process to get like a book call, you'll do it almost every single time. And there's stats and everything behind it that you can like set up, right? So once you've transitioned, then the next one's simple. Here's the invite. Hey, we should book a call if you want to learn about it here. And then next one, they're like, okay, cool. Next one's call to action. Here's my link. Boom. Book a time when it makes it, and let me know when you book. And then the last one is, hey, just before our call, watch this 3-second video so you learn a little bit more about me. Might prompt some calls. And by the way, whoever likes no-shows and ghosts, I hate them. The way to eliminate those is after the call is booked, drop a PS in your next DM that says this. Ben, we're both busy people. I know you're not the type to no-show. If you have to cancel, would you give me at least 48 hours notice? When they say, no, I'm not going to cancel, it will boost your show rates by it boosted ours by like 26%. Something close to that. So that's the secrets.
So that's fantastic. And I'm going to totally clip that. That is a clip right there. So let's turn this into something real. So RevOps. Okay. If you're advising RevOps, I don't know how much you know, but we're essentially...
Well, it combines everything, right? So it's like, as I understand, you can basically connect any tech to it and then any CRM to it, and then it like data sorts everything. It's like big data, right?
Yeah. So it's like, imagine Flowchat connects in, and then say another, dialer connects in, and then say your cold email sequencer connects in, and it's pulling it all into what we call a unified record. So Bob, all of Bob's activities flow all the way into Bob. And then within that, we can see all the activity streams across Bob, across all channels, and we can build nice reports and trigger new events off of those activities. So it's a central, unified, what they call client database across all tools. It allows you to do much deeper, richer analytics and also keep cleaned lists. For agencies, we have a gazillion different agency databases you can have under one roof. Whereas like if you did that yourself, you're going to spend $100,000 a year with a full-time dev to manage that database for you. So for $100 a month, you can go in and basically spin up as many of these databases as you want and manage all your lead lists as an agency and unify all of your records for that client, white label it, give it to them so they have all of their lists in one place and all of their reports in one place. So it takes the data operations out of your operations and it makes it into a SaaS platform.
Cool. Okay.
So how would you do that? So let me give you
so
my
like
ICP.
conversation starters or conversation starters, you can get a million. I'm not going to even start there. So like getting an engagement, the best thing to do is just use a compliment, say you'll be back tomorrow, and then actually come back tomorrow. This is why Flowchat exists. So you have timers, you can set up automations, you can run AI to do that, right? Then you get engagement. What do you say? What's the first? So the two most important DMs you're ever going to send to a prospect are your first message to get engagement and your first transition question. So the way to word or get your first question tuned is to answer one thing. And here's the question I'm going to ask you, and we'll do it live on the air right now. What's the negative impact for your prospects when they don't have RevOps?
They can't scale their business past 5 to 10 clients.
Okay. So your question goes, now you would take that, you can't scale your business past 5 to 10 clients without RevOps. So now we need to just form that into a question, and that should be the place you start. So what would the question be?
I think it would be something along the lines of, have you found it difficult to scale your business past 5 or 10 clients with your current
So
data operations?
have you found it difficult is a good phrase. I would change it.
Okay.
Make it more emotionally charged. Go negative.
Okay.
Are you pissed off that you haven't gotten past 5 to 10 clients yet?
Okay,
Question
there you go.
mark.
All right. So it has to be emotionally intense.
Emotionally, like they're called emotional trigger words. There's like 3,000 of them or something. And it's like choose an emotionally charged trigger word, usually the negative side, like pissed off, ticked off, worried about, annoyed by, stressed out, frustrated because of, like those are negative emotion impacts. And you put that on the front end as your first phrase because that's going to capture somebody's emotion, because when they're emotional is when they make a buying decision. And there's 5 emotions that charge anyone to make a decision. And they are pain in the present, as you probably learned from Sandler, right? There's pain in the future. There's present pain. There's present pleasure, future pleasure, and then curiosity. Those are the 5, right? And so if you start on the pain in the present, are you annoyed and pissed off, ticked off, frustrated, or just flat out done because you can't scale past 5 to 10 clients? Yeah, I am, Sean. Like, how'd you know? Well, I don't know. What are you doing about it?
So you would lead. So the first statement is a question that doesn't lead with the first name, but it's, are you pissed off? Would be a good start.
Yeah, that would be the transition question. Don't get them confused with your
Okay.
engagement
Okay,
message. Your
got it.
engagement message is, I love people that are in the podcast space, Ben. I want to keep talking, but I'm busy. I'll be back tomorrow. That's my first message. My second message is, I'm back as promised. Do you ever get really frustrated that you're not able to? It seems like you might get really frustrated that you're not able to scale past the next 5 to 10 clients because data's got you hung up. That's not happening to you, is it? But when they say yes, you go, oh, I never thought you were going to say that. Very nurturing. And then I would
So
say
you'll
something
actually
like,
say, I never thought you would say that.
oh my God, OMG, exclamation. I never thought that you'd say that. I just helped Bob fix it last week. Can I jump on a Zoom and show you what we did with him? Book call. I didn't sell anything. I sold a call, right? That's the move. And if you start DMing that way, your game shifts radically.
I'm gonna try this immediately.
Please do. And tell me the results, because I promise it'll be better than what you're getting now.
I'm very interested. The thing that worked extremely well, but is a harder pitch now in the DMs was, I have this framework called the top 6 challenges, which is essentially my whole methodology of market research is what I call the 1,000 conversations. So the idea is, especially, I mean, with software, it's like, what do you build? Like, what do you create in the world? And the answer to that question is you solve real problems, right? And so, but how do you know what problem to solve if you're a new entrepreneur? So this is like a fundamental, like 4 steps to the epiphany, lean startup kind of entrepreneurial question. And for me, it's like, okay, well, go talk to your ideal customer profile, which means come up with whoever the heck that is. Maybe it's sales managers at tech companies in North America.
Even better yet, who do you want to sell to? Who do you enjoy hanging with?
Right. Like you said
Easier to
earlier,
have those conversations.
Right. You said you there was a particular type of person you didn't like to sell to. It was roofers, right? For me, it was
Not that I didn't like to sell to them. It's just like they just lie, cheat, and steal when they do jobs, and I didn't like that part. Yeah, that was why. Yeah, but yeah, okay, roofers, that's fine.
Right. And so for me, it's like I really don't like selling to, I own everylash.com, so eyelash moms. I just
Yeah.
it didn't
Stay-at-home moms, one of the hardest. Yeah.
Yeah. And it was like more like stay-at-home grandmoms, but it was a tough crowd, and so I ultimately was like, okay, well, who should I sell to? And so I came back to B2B and tech, and that helped a lot. But
Good
what
choice.
I found was when I would go into selling a new product, I would come up with the avatar, and then I would say, through all these conversations, I would use something called the mom test. Speaking of moms, there's a great free PDF called the mom test, and we can listen to it. But it basically gives you a bunch of questions to ask, which is, what's the biggest problem you're facing today? What's the number one solution that you're using to solve for that problem? What do you like about it? What did you like about it? And then you end up coming up with a bunch of interesting data. And you do that across this avatar, this ICP, 30 times. And now you have it all in a spreadsheet. You should have documented it in like a Google form. And you can start to see keywords. And if you record with Fathom, you'll have all of these keywords. You can use ChatGPT to distill it. And then it comes up with your top 6 challenges. Yeah. So I would write it exactly as I said it, and I put it into a PDF. And this is actually, I have a free school community. People can watch how I do this. But I turn it into a PDF, and I would lead with, in my DM, I would say, hey, Frank. Not what
You're not going to do that anymore, are you?
No, but it worked. I'd say, Frank, I saw that you are a cold email agency owner, and I just launched reviops.com. I'm looking for beta testers. Now, for whatever reason, saying I just launched and I'm asking for beta testers is like an extremely attractive hook for this particular ideal customer profile. So I was getting these crazy book rates, like insane, where I was like, it's not live yet. I just want your feedback. I'm not selling. That's kind of like what I would open with. Also, if you'd like, I can send over the top 6 challenges we solve. Do you mind if I do that? And so it's kind of like a second close. And so they would say, yeah, send it over and give me your link. So I'd say, here's the top 6 challenges, doc. And it would just be a PDF. And I'd say, let me know if these resonate with you. And then here's my booking link. And I would get responses like, dude, it's like you're reading my mind. And it was because I was reading his mind. I literally took the exact words from 50 other people. And then they would jump on the call. And then I would present to them. The thing is I'm now, from a RevOps standpoint, many months post-launch, so it's hard enough. I can't say, hey, I just launched beta, it's past beta. So that kind of hook isn't.
But hold on. Just reframe the hook, dude. Because the hook can become, hey, look, we're just coming out with this new feature. I'd love to get your opinion on it. Up for 20 minutes. That will get you the same amount of book calls.
So just launched.
My tech team's crazy. They just launched a new feature. I would love to see if this is a feature that would like explode your business. Let's have a quick chat. That type of framework would do the same thing. Like when I launched my agency, I was like, hey, we're thinking about starting a sales agency that's going to help hire, onboard, and train salespeople. Out of curiosity, would you be open for a marketing research call, no sales whatsoever? Booked 42 out of 50 calls. The end of those 42 calls, I got 5 high-ticket clients that paid us $30,000.
Mm-hmm. Now, how are you pivoting from the research framing to the sale?
I don't. You do what you do. You understand whether or not they have a problem, because here's the soundbite that's going to change everything for you. If you can say the thing that someone's thinking, if you can say the problem that someone has better than they can think it themselves, like what you just said, where that guy's like, oh my God, you're reading my mind. If you can dictate the problem someone has better than they can think through it themselves, they automatically assume you have the answer. That's it. And so it's like on the marketing research, like, hey, do you struggle with sales? Yeah, I do, Sean. Well, why do you think that is? And we go down the path, right? All I'm doing is discovery. I'm like, oh, well, what have you tried to solve it? Did you try this? Did you try that? How much did you spend on that? How did it work? This is all sales conversation, right? And then I've just gathered all this data about somebody. I'm like, man, like, how much are you willing to actually like invest to solve this? Like, how bad is it actually impacting your company? Oh, Sean, I cut my arm off and oh my God, like, what are you going to do? You're going to cut your arm off? No, Sean, but it sounds like you can solve it. Yeah, I probably could. Okay, how much do I have to pay you? Boom, close deal, right? And so again, it's like what Sandler teaches. It's kind of like if you can understand the problem that you solve and the person has it, so they have to have the problem you solve. You can understand how much can they afford your services or not, and how they make a buying decision, right? If you understand their buying process, or I call it buying decision, because most people say, I need a day to think on it. Okay, cool. What does think on it mean? You're going to go in your backyard and sit on a rock and think about stuff? Like, no, you could probably make this decision right now. Okay, obviously there's some deal breakers in there, but if I understand, hey, I make a decision in a team every Tuesday in a boardroom, great. Can I get in that boardroom with you guys? How does that work? Right? Different conversation. Because now I'm in front of the board who makes the decision, because if I have all the decision makers, I can close a deal. In fact, I did this with Raytheon. I closed a $60 million deal with them. I did this with Bally's.
You closed a $60 million deal?
With Raytheon, yeah. I've closed million. Yeah, dude, I've closed over $200 million in my personal career, yeah.
$60 million. Oh my God.
There's a 5-year agreement for $60 million, and we were designing, it was for my electronics company. We were designing a cryogenic laser guidance system that sits on a Raytheon tank. So like when incoming missiles come out, the circuitry that I built like identifies the missile and fires the counter missiles, so it blows up in the sky. So I built all the electronics for that. That's what my company did. Yeah.
Wait, what?
So.
Wait, you just blew my mind. You say that again? So wait,
okay. So like Raytheon.
What's the story? What's the backstory here? There's a crazy.
So
story.
I bought an electronic. So like when I came out of college and I started selling, I started selling for manufacturers commodities. One of those commodities was electronic circuit boards, like the circuit board inside a phone. But we made high-end ones for like NASA and space companies, and then all the tier ones.
How did this even come up? Like, how did you even get into this?
So I took a job selling as a manufacturer's rep. So I was a rep.
At where?
And I had 15 principals, right? They all had a different product set. So there was like a sheet metal manufacturer. There was a machining manufacturer. It was all commodity stuff. There was electronics. There was cables. There was and these are the guys I sold for. And then I would go find the companies like medical companies and energy companies. And I would go in there, like as an example, there's a thing called a cow cart in a hospital. So a cow cart is the cardiac cart on wheels is what they call it, CCOW. And so what is comprised of, it's got aluminum, like a stand with wheels, right? You'd see that. There's got an electronic box. Inside the electronics, a bunch of circuit boards, and then there's cables that come out and you zap the dude, right? So I would sell all that stuff, right?
So you're selling the components.
So I would go to the manufacturer who would build the cow carts, and I would sell them the raw materials to create the cow carts.
And were you doing this as a value-added reseller and owner of the company, or were you a rep?
I was a sales guy for these 15 companies. So I was an independent rep for them, and then I would sell their product to here, and I'd take a commission off the middle.
And how did you start with one of those companies and then start to add people?
I came out of college and I researched who was the best of the best in the sales rep industry, and it was this guy Tim Foote. And I said, hey Tim, he knew my dad. I was like, hey Tim, can I go play a round of golf with you? I'm interested in working for you. And he's like, you play golf? I was like, yeah. And then I went out there and he's like, no one ever beats me at golf. And I destroyed him because I was a golfer. And so he's like, okay. I was like, dude, if I beat you, you're giving me a job. Like, that's how I laid it down for him. And he's like, okay.
This is Wolf of Wall Street.
Yeah, dude, it was hardcore, man. And I went in there and I whipped him and he was like, okay, we're going to try it. And then I just started making cold calls, and that was my first 6 weeks, and I sucked. And that was the whole experience. And then I figured out how to book the appointment, and I got in the appointments, and I sucked at sales, and I was like, I got to learn systems. So then I took in a Sandler system, and I was like, okay, that works perfectly for this environment. And so I started using Sandler in that environment, right? And that's where my first kind of induction in that whole thing was. But then one of our principals, so we would sell like the big Renko truck and trailers. I'd sell all the aluminum to Renko, and they'd make the trailers that go on the back of the big semis, right? And then I would go into like advanced energy, and where they make semiconductors, and I'd build these little circuitry cards that have wires that came off the back, and I would sell the circuit boards and the wires from my two suppliers over here to that company so they could build those things. And so when I that's the type of company I bought in Vegas. When I moved to Vegas.
Are you still in Vegas?
No, a year ago I moved back to Colorado. I live outside of Boulder,
I'm in
Colorado.
Vegas. So
yeah,
I'm
that's
Lake Las Vegas. Yeah.
Yeah, dude. I almost bought a huge house out there, but I didn't. Right, that would have been crazy because we
would be neighbors.
Besties. Yeah, besties.
I'd be in the little house. You'd be in the big house.
Oh, yeah. So I didn't though. I went the boat route. I bought some big boats. Had them on Lake Mead for a lot of years. So
that's cool.
Yeah, but and so then when I moved to Vegas, we were like specialized high mix, low volume. So we would go sell prototypes to this weird wacko engineer over here doing this one thing. And so one of my clients was Raytheon. So I went and I locked up Raytheons from scratch. I had no help. I had no intros. I just sold them. And then I got into the higher echelons, started making deals. And eventually I got to the place where they're like, high security clearance. Let's go look at tanks that blow stuff up. I'm like, this is amazing. So I'd bring all these super engineers, and they're like, here's the problem. We don't have a detection device that tracks incoming missiles. I need you guys to design it. I went to my engineers, and I was like, design this cool thing on a circuit board that I don't know how you do it. And they would design it, and I'd be like, cool, it's done. And then we'd go back, and then I would sell the thing to them. Like, hey, let's try it. So we'd sell them 5 units at crazy prices, right? And then I'd be like, let's go do a field test. So they would install the thing, and then I got to go to the test range, and they would shoot rockets, and it was insane, dude. It was a whole nother world, man.
Dude, we need to make a movie. We need to make a movie. It needs to end with like the crazy house in Lake Las Vegas, where it's like you go through this crazy thing and you end up in like it's almost like a mix between what was that movie with what's his name, the guy from Superbad, who ends up he's like basically warlord, but he's the guy who's selling tanks and guns and stuff to the military. Yeah. What's the name of that?
I don't remember that.
But it's like that story about how these like basically like 20-year-olds ended up winning these like $50 million contracts, to like sell to the U.S. military, and then they ended up somehow in like Afghanistan or Iraq, at some like Russian facility, like doing some Chinese, it sounds like some crazy story like that. But
we used to ship, there's so many cool stories I have from that like experience. Like another one was the tier 1 guys on the front lines. They got the ruck packs that have all the electronics. I would power all those things. We built the battery supplies for those. And then like Bigelow Aerospace, Mr. Bigelow, total whack job, really big billionaire guy. And he was like, hey, my slogan is fly grandma to the moon. So they have this charted out course with his spaceships that I've seen the spaceships. They're insane. And he's like, I want to sell billboard space on the trajectory of my stuff, and I want you to build all the circuitry for these billboards. So I manufactured thousands of these circuit boards that had LEDs that we built into these like big giant displays that were going to be launched into space, floating on this like pathway for Bigelow Aerospace. I think it's still sitting in a garage somewhere, not anywhere, but I made a lot of money from it, which was great. So,
dude, that's gonna be like, that's a crazy hook. I sold a $60 million deal, and I, then created this rocket circuitry thing that prevented attack. What a crazy hook!
Yeah,
oh
dude.
Man,
so a lot of cool stuff, man. Can't make it up,
So I guess coming full circle back here, you go from $60 million deals to Flowchat. What a different sale! Because it's like I come more from like started in the nonprofit, went into more enterprise level selling, very complex deals. The $200,000 to $2 million range, not 60 million. The biggest deal
that's
I ever
still,
worked on.
Dude, that's amazing. Most people never do one bigger than about $5,000 in their lifetime. So,
yeah, the oil and gas industry, just there's only so many companies, and so at least once you get in the oil field operator, if you look at like total production on U.S. onshore, which just means like oil and gas in North America, it's like basically you have 100 companies. and they do like 98% of the production. So there's like this massive drop off, and there's maybe another 9,000 producers, in say Texas, but they're tiny little wells with like, So I had to sell to Shell and Chevron and Exxon and very complex data projects, something called OSDU, which was this very advanced open subsurface data universe data melding project, which led to ReviOps actually. But like me, you seem to have transitioned to a much more low dollar value sale. I'm assuming Flowchat is not $60 million, hopefully. And so with eyelashes, I was at like, $20 a unit. Maybe we had one package for $299, but that was like our mega package. And so our unit economics were really stiff. Now you're a SaaS business. How do you had to get, I know that you said that you're better at sales than you are marketing, but clearly you're deeply studied in the art of marketing. So what's the difference? I mean, how do you make that move?
To what? To learn marketing or
to sell something so like low ticket? Like,
oh, I don't know, man. I just, I'm a curious person like you. I wanted to learn and sell everything. So I was like, okay, I have this cool job. I'm going to see if I can go build up my manufacturing company. And I built it to 8.5 million. And then my business partner sold it out from underneath me. I thought I was going to build that one for life. I thought that was it. I was done. Like, I was so excited, but then it got ripped away. So I was like, okay, I got to go reinvent myself after a lot of beer and a lot of dark spots in my life. Right. But, and so then I was like, okay, what could I do? I still want to try like B2B sales, because I was selling B2G, business to government, like you were, right?
Oh
so I tried B2G. Then I was like big B2B, like roofing projects. So like Area 52, right next to Area 51, there are buildings that no one can see. They are hidden in the rocks. Like, I actually put roofs on a bunch of them. Like, I was there. So like another story that I could talk about for days with you.
This is another one.
Right. So like crazy stuff like that. But then and then I was like, okay, well, I don't want to do that. I want to try business to consumer. Terrible idea. Don't ever want to do that again.
Never, ever,
right?
ever.
Like, because I knew. And so then I was like, okay, which is the easiest for the most profit? And what I realized was I loved the B2G sale, but this process was so long to get a deal over the line. It created so much stress in my life. There was a time when I was 21, I got shingles on my neck because I had like 4 deals fall out, and they were like big deals that had been going on for like 6-7 months. And so from that day, I was like, no more stress. I don't want to do that. So I had bad experience there, bad experience in B2C, and I was like, B2B is the jam. Like, we have a tech that works B2C. I've done it. I actually helped a dating coach and build a $10 million business and sell it in 90 days and move to Bali. But at the same time, it was
That's another hook, dude.
Yeah,
dude,
millions. So I was like, yeah, that's it, right? So, and then like the B2B space, what I found is like businesses need the most help because they have the best ideas to transform and change the world. And so if I can just help them communicate better through a tech, that's great. I win. And they win too.
We're going to call you the hook master.
No, hook man. No. That's Russell, man. Russell's way better dropping. Actually, Myron Golden is probably the best hook master I've ever seen. So,
yeah. I would say
Myron.
I would say that it's interesting because like I've personally mastered product management, which I think is actually the hidden art of selling under $1 million, which is like you have to build a great product that solves a really big problem, and that's not a sales problem. That's a product management problem.
Sure.
But once you get past that point, there is this there's a great chart I'm going to try to visualize for people if you're listening, where it's like there's these different price breaks where different modalities of sales occur. Right. So you have like up to, I don't know, you can gut check me on some of these numbers, but we'll say up to like $300 to $1,000 ish. It's like you're kind of pushing the edge of online cart sales, something in that range. Then there's this no man's land of 1,000 to like 3,000, I would say, where it's like you could probably do high ticket webinars. Obviously, Alex Hormozi just blasted this out of the world, but it's Alex Hormozi, so let's just put that to the side. He sold me a $6,000 deal on a webinar that I thought was free.
Me and Russell were in the same mastermind when he was in 2016, sleeping on couch, broke as hell. I've known the guy for a lot of years. He's a good buddy, and like he's a stud, dude. Like he is Russell Brunson's best student by 10 million miles, and he's just one of the best executors and super highly respected. When I first met Alex, we were in the mastermind. He came into the room and he wanted to teach sales. but he was a young entrepreneur at the time, and he only thought the only way to sell was having a hard, cold boiler room, like call center environment for like a company that should be warm. And he eventually learned that wasn't the right way. And so, but he's an amazing study. He's an incredible marketer. I still think Russell Brunson's better. So
Big words, fighting words. No, I'm kidding. Obviously, he's his mentor. So it's, the old sensei situation.
Yeah.
But my God, I mean, $6,000. So speaking of which, I mean, literally, like, I'm the sucker. You got it too?
I mean, I have this one. I don't have the other one.
Okay, yeah, I spent the $6,000. I got that.
That's
I got
crazy.
that.
That's
New one.
crazy. Dude.
Yeah, it's funny. I love how we just have like books just lying around.
Yeah, for sure.
So
If you want a book, get mine. There it is. Yeah.
So we're gonna plug that in one second. But let me finish this trail, which is once you get up to say 1 to 3,000, there's this kind of no man's land, and then you end up in kind of high ticket land, but really shitty high ticket land at like 3 to 6,000, where it's like the average order value kind of sucks. Like, what are you doing there? It doesn't really support an inside sales team. And then once you get above that 6,000 to 10,000, you're still kind of in danger zone. But once you break the 10,000, you're like, okay, there's margin, especially on software. It's like decent. Now, once you get above that, you're certainly in the more like mid-market enterprise kind of world. I'm just curious, like, what is the price of Flowchat right now?
It ranges from $247 a month up to $1,700 a month if it's monthly, and then we have annuals. I run a webinar 997 special, and then I have a 2K. Then we have a special for 3K. We have a 5K, and I'm about to roll out a 10K 10-week accelerator program. I'm calling it the Rainmaker program. And then next year we're coming out with a 30K product, which is going to be what we call the content monster plus the AI supersetter. That's going to be the 30K offer, which is next year. Really excited for that one. But yeah, so we have low to high, right? So whole value ladder.
So how are you able to talk about like how you think about selling that product?
Sure, absolutely. Which part do you want to know? Like, how do I sell a software product?
Yeah, so I think it's important to put this into a context of, it's a very broad category, which is like every business on planet Earth needs to communicate with other businesses, right? If they're selling to other businesses.
Of course.
And DMs is kind of a core channel to do that. So you're kind of smack dab in the middle of a massive market with massive demand. It's kind of obvious. You don't have to explain that to people. Like, you should be talking to people. So they're in that level of the awareness scale of problem aware. I need to communicate with people. Probably solution aware to an extent of there's these automation tools. Maybe even product aware or brand aware, like I am with, say, Prosp or HeyReach. So
you like Michael Masterson too, huh?
That's that comes from Eugene Schwartz originally. So that's breakthrough advertising. But
It's also in this book with Eugene Schwartz. He wrote, and John Ford, great leads.
Oh, it's both of them? Michael Masterson.
So this was inspired by Eugene Schwartz. If you haven't read that one, that's really good.
I haven't. No, I'm going to check it out.
Yeah, because they have the...
Look,
like...
I got Eugene Schwartz right here.
Oh, yeah, I have it right here, too. It's one of the best books of all time. But there's the awareness level, like you just listed it, right? So it's like so dialed in, right? So it's like this book's all about that topic, which
exactly.
I also love. So you're very well read as well, my friend.
Yeah. We just have books like that. The funny thing is like it's not even staged. It's just like, oh, yeah, this book. Yeah, you got to read that thing. I have a rule of if somebody lists a book, I'm going to have to get that after the podcast. I have to buy it on the spot. It's like a personal rule. So I just go straight and it goes to my Kindle. I probably have 1,000 unread books. But so getting back to your selling. So it's in that context of how do you, which makes it easier to sell, but how do you think about that? Like, how did you, it sounds like you do a webinar.
So it's always about right people, right message, right result, right? So it's like my job is to find people that are hungry and focused. Those are the two characteristics I search for. And I search for that through DM because I can figure it out through a DM, right? Then I get them on a call. During the call, the process is I start with my highest ticket offer that I can sell, and I start asking around that product if they have those problems. If I find they don't have the problems, I'm not even going to bring that product up. Then I go to the next one. Then I go to the next one. And in our conversations, it's typically like, I want to learn about somebody's business. I want to learn how they're doing what they're doing. I want to learn what they've tried to solve problems, if they like DMs, if they hate DMs. Like, I learn all this stuff in my calls. and then I bring it back in after I understand what the problem or the pain is that they're working on. Then I'm like, okay, what have you tried to do to solve that? How much did it cost? How did you feel about that? Have you given up trying yet? Like, what's going on in your life? No, Sean, this is serious. I want to solve it. Okay, that makes sense. Like, seems like you've tried 10 things and it hasn't worked. Like, what are you going to do next? Well, that's why we're talking. Okay, that makes sense. Let me do a quick demo and show you. And then I would choose the exact use case and I'd show them how my tech would solve that use case. And they're like, okay, how do I start? And then I would make an assumption or an actual recommendation based on what I know of that conversation and where's the best place based on the support level they need to start with my product. Because I don't want to give them the Ferrari when they need the tricycle. I don't want to give them the tricycle when they need the Ferrari, right? And so the idea is like, no, this guy needs a Pinto. What's the offer that's the 2K offer? Here's the Pinto, right? Like, that's the one you need that's going to solve the problem the best. Let's have another call in 60 days and talk about how it did, right? And then, oh, you need more support? Let's go to the Ferrari from the Pinto. Or, that was enough? Okay, let's downgrade you to the tricycle so you can run forever, right? Because I don't believe... See, I'm a student of marketing, like I said in the beginning. I went through a very horrifically... emotionally negatively charged upsell process, one of the first things I ever bought online, and I told myself, like, I never want to do that again.
So why was it negative? What happened to you?
It was just I wasn't expecting. It was bigger number. And I was like, like I can't afford, but I'm doing it because I know I need it, right? And it just, I didn't want to go down that path when we built the software tech. So we have, the way we built our software is like, you get it's kind of like same as yours. I looked at your website, right? So it's like, you have the base pie, the pizza pie, and you're like, hey, I want to put olives on it. So you can go to our marketplace and you can say, I want more contact records. That's olives. Hey, I want more pipelines. That's pineapples, right? And we're not going to force sell that to you because the way that my sales team I've trained over the past 2.5 years, they're killers. But you'll never know when you're going to call with them because they're like your best friend the whole time. And they only solve problems only for good, never for evil. I'll just say that because that's what I believe in. And they'll just say, it looks like you need the pizza pie that has the olives. Does that even make sense to you? And they're like, oh, that's what I want. Okay, perfect. Let's start there. You don't want the pineapples, right? No. Okay, we'll start here and check in 60 days. Right. Did you want the pineapples? That's how we do it. It's just a smoother approach, and it doesn't feel pushy or pressury or salesy or any of that stuff, right? It's like, hey, you have the problem that we solve? Great, we should work together. If you don't, like, hey, man, like, go meet this guy because he can probably work with you. And so whether it's a deal or a referral is kind of how I look at, like, my sales calls.
So let me give you a twister here. So this is a problem I'm having right now. And as you know, I'm not new to the game, right? Like, you know, I've read some books. But
of course,
that being said, I find myself in a pickle. And so this is a good opportunity to ask, obviously, a very bright marketer. So I'm in a different stage. So ReviOps is it's kind of ahead of its time in a way, but it's an old idea in a new market. So this is one where the idea of what they call a client database platform, which is centralizing the data, putting it in one place, unifying it, doing a bunch of automations off of it. Not a new idea. It's been around for 20 years, but in different industries and in the marketing industry. What's changed in the last year and a half fundamentally is that AI has disrupted the way that we do outbound marketing, as you know. And so all of these new tools coming on, like Clay, for example, or Trigify or B2B, or all of these new web scraping kind of signal analysis AI tools are popping up, which creates a whole new breed of basically interested people. So the thing that Clay has done amazing, if anybody doesn't know what Clay is, it's like basically like Airtable meets Zapier to then do like you can do AI analysis at a cell level within Airtable or Google Sheets, but it's in something called Clay. That allows you to do list building at lightning speed. So you can go and hook up to, say, like, I don't know, some particular database that they have, call it like Wizza, download leads from there, and then in the next column, go to Million Verifier and enrich, or verify whether the email's valid, and then the next thing, go do AI copywriting on the about section that was just scraped. So it centralizes this kind of very advanced list building that used to take a tremendous amount of effort. You'd have to spend $20,000, $30,000 to buy something from either ZoomInfo pre-polished, or you'd have to go hire a list building team. So it basically democratizes this whole water flow. And what these sales guys, what's happened is it's unlocked this unknown pent up demand of salespeople wanting to be creative. So there's you and me, like the natural progression of a good salesperson who's bright enough or creative enough or ambitious enough is to go just be an entrepreneur. But there's a whole, like, again, the long tail of the curve. There's a whole long tail of sales guys who just aren't there, and they're just never going to be crazy enough or risk taking enough to go start their own company, but they still want to be creative. So what Clay did was they basically allowed these essentially sales guys to unlock their creativity, and they call them, I mean, literally like clay artists for this reason. And it's a brilliant marketing, brilliant positioning, because it allowed these guys to then basically productize low code list building. They made it sexy somehow. I don't know how they did it. So anyways, that's the world we live in. So meanwhile, in comes me, and I'm going, oh, look, there's all these tools. There's no one place to store all the data. There's no one place to do analysis on it. You can't put it in the CRM because that would create a dumpster fire because the CRM doesn't deduplicate. So you need a staging place, and that's RevOps. And so I'm in this world where the people I sell to right now, my beachhead market is cold email agency owners. They tend to be younger, 20 to say 35, and they don't know all the things that we discussed. They haven't gone through the 14 companies to start and had their business partner screw them over yet. They're kind of like green behind the ears, but full of piss and vinegar and really want to, make something of themselves. They're stuck at, say, 5 to 10 clients, like we talked about. But they don't yet fully understand the scope of what it means to scale to 40 clients or 50 clients. They haven't gone through the data operations. So in other words, they don't feel the pain yet. So they're trying to solve their operational problems on list building and merging using Airtable and Google Sheets and storing stuff in Clay, but they don't realize they're building a road to nowhere. So how would you, if that's the scenario, and there's many, I'm using me as an example because there's many products out there in the world that are the person, it perfectly solves a deep problem somebody has, but they don't yet know they have it. And so how do we educate the market, or do we not educate the market and just say, hey, we're going to solve the problem you have now? And then it's like the tell me what you want, give me what you need kind of scenario. How would you think about positioning that, given that, like, when I go to these people, the guys that get it, and they're like, I want that. The guys that get it, but already solved it with like $100,000 in development are like, dude, I already solved this by spending $100,000 and I keep on spending $5,000 a month because I'm locked in. So then that leaves the rest of the kind of the newbies, the 5 to 10 the 10 client guys, but they're not at the point where they feel the pain. How would you approach that problem?
I'd change markets.
Interesting. Okay.
That's probably the way that I would go, because I always truly believe that if somebody, like, who's the person that's going to buy right now is, again, it's the more aware person. And if they're solution aware or even, problem aware, they've probably experienced some of that pain. And so you just got to think about, like, where's the bucket of people that are going to be in that spot? Where are those people, and how do we find them on social? And to spend the mind time to think through, like, where do those people hang out? What do they like? What do they eat? What do they dress? Who are they married to? Like, just identify that avatar. See if you can go find them on social. And if you can't, then you just have to put more nurture into the existing sales process with using, like, case. If they're, like, unaware, we want to go a little more story with case study and testimonial, and then, oh, this is John, and he was this business, and he was full of piss and vinegar, and he was going this way, and then, oh no, he hit this brick wall, and this changed. But then he got this idea, RevOps, and it was awesome, and that was his plan. But then he started RevOps, and, like, this broke, and he was like, oh no, what do I do here? And then he had to talk to Ben, and Ben was like, do this, and it was like, hey. And then now he hits, like, result and transformation. Is a system that will serve his business forever. And he's now more educated and more enlightened to know not to fall in those potholes. And it's just the hero's journey, right? So it's like, I would think about, like, kind of creating that version that somebody can path along if you had to sell to that market. But again, if I was you and I was in your shoes, I would really be thinking about who's the person that hasn't spent $100,000 that still has the big problem.
Yeah, the challenge is that it's such an emerging market that it's a kind of small market. And what we're finding on RevOps is we're building a whole new suite that's more for RevOps sales leaders, but it's not going to be ready till December. And so that's when we're going to price up. Right now, we're averaging AOV, I don't know, say $12,000 a year.
The other thing that I would think about is like, how can you dumb down your product so that it can solve a problem for the piss and vinegar that hasn't experienced it? Because that person has problems and pain too. Talk to them. Market research on them. Hey, what's the biggest problem you're facing with trying to link all these softwares together or do this thing or not have this, right? And that's where that whole question is like, what's the negative impact for that particular person if they don't use ReviOps? And if you can think about that, then that's the questions you start asking those people. And then they're going to be like, yeah, I really struggle with that. Oh, we have this, like, I don't know. That's what Infusionsoft did. They built Keep, right? And they launched the new simple dashboard. And the new simple dashboard exploded Keep out of the gate. That's what happened. They just dumbed down their product. That's all. Because Infusionsoft is badass, but you have to have a PhD to run it. Same with Salesforce. Same with HubSpot. Right? Same with all of them. JHL, same thing now. Like ClickFunnels, same thing. Like you have to be hella intelligent, or someone like you that can actually like tune it and run it. So
yeah, it's interesting because like the thing I'm realizing, because again I've done 1,000 conversations, and this I'm using myself right now as a guinea pig because I think people listening, there's somebody out there who's like, you said something really smart, which is I'd change markets, which is like the best way to solve a problem is to just realize it's not one. It's like, just like, hey, you don't have to actually convince those people. Just don't even focus on them, which is probably the right answer. But going deeper into, let's say that like, okay, what if we are on the cutting edge of a big breakthrough? There's a big emerging trend. The market just needs
case study.
So case studies helps you get there. But let me throw another angle at you, which is the problem these guys are having is they believe I need help learning how to sell better. And what I know, because I've built a company to 41 clients doing cold email agency stuff, is that the way they're positioning themselves is entirely wrong. So people go in as black boxes. So this is most agency owners on planet Earth that are in the cold email space. Let me go in and sell you a $5,000, $3,000 per month retainer. I'm going to go get you leads. That's the promise. And they say, we'll turnkey it for you. You give us money. We give you leads. End of story. And that's the pitch. I spin it on the head. And the way that I get a 50+% close rate on agency services is I come in and I say, you shouldn't buy my services. That's how I start. And I say, the reason you shouldn't buy my services is because you probably don't need them. And let me tell you why. And then I have a calculator and I show them, I'm like, what's your dream outcome? How much revenue do you want? And I work back up the conversion funnel and I show them how many meetings they need. And then I show them that their total addressable market is too small for cold email, and I say they shouldn't be doing cold email. Now, if they happen to be, I'll show them an ROI that shows like a 20x return, and I go, okay, you can afford this, and it makes sense given your average order value. And then I go and say, I'm not a black box. I'm a systems integrator. This is really hard. And if we go down this path, there's a lot of things that I can't control, like your offer, your market, your ability to actually fulfill your sales and actually like do the thing. So just so you know, like, I'm not a black box, but I am going to give you the best chance to win. And you need to get this software and this software and this software. And I tell them, and I'm like, and I'm a systems integrator. I'm the guy who comes in and technically ties it together. By the way, I'm so deep in the weeds. I actually own a company called ReviOps that does it for you. So you need to buy that too. And then I go sell it. And then when they buy the agency offer, it's 100% close rate on the software plus all the affiliate. And then because I'm a systems integrator, when I get in, I stick longer. So if one product breaks, which it always does, not ReviOps, of course, but one of them breaks, they usually, if it's a black box and I fail to fulfill, they'll go and say, the black box sucks. We're firing you. Whereas in my world, because I'm a systems integrator, I go, that vendor sucks and I'm here to help. So let me go find a new guy for you. So the positioning is fundamentally different. But what's weird is it works for me. When I go to tell this to a new agency owner, they go, oh, we don't do it like that. And I'm like, well, you're stupid. Like, what do you want me to say? But it's like, if I can convince people to do that, and I can throw ReviOps on top and say, hey, you can white label this and sell this because I have 41 clients all paying $500 a month on this right now for my agency, and they never say no. Don't you want to white label and make your own software recurring revenue? And they just can't wrap their minds around it. For some reason, when I tell people that, they just are like, it wouldn't work for me. I'm like, dude, like I have 100% close rate on these sales. Like, what are you talking about?
Two things I'll tell you. I love your analogy. The analogy I would give is like you can't get a horse to drink water, but you can make it really thirsty. You can walk it down to the stream. You can give it salt. Hey, drink, right? That's buying your thing. And so in your case, it's like, so the second thing I'll say is like the reseller conversation is very difficult to sell from the very first part of it because they don't think they can do it. That's the reason why. So typically, because we have resellers, we have 54 of them ourselves right now currently, and we have a couple of them that have over 100 sub accounts, crushing it. They charge $300 to $3,000 a month for those accounts. Like, they're making lots of money. And those people had already white labeled other software. So if you're trying to sell white label ReviOps, go make a post on LinkedIn saying, who else has white labeled another one of the softwares that's in your space? So we used to say, who else is white labeled Go High Level? I'm trying to find some people and ask some questions. Oh, that's me. Shoot, just shot you a DM, Ben. Hey, Ben, what's your experience with white labeling this tech? Gosh, we have one too. Since you white label one, do you want to see if this one might fit for you? And now it's a white label conversation from the start because it's a more educated person. That will close more white label deals because you're searching for white label people. And if you're selling just ReviOps to the new piss and vinegar founder that hasn't like stumbled quite yet, then it's like they're going to have a whole different mentality of what they're doing. And so I would just say, like, how can you make it more simple and give them the minimum viable, the MVP, minimum viable result? Like, if you did this one thing in your business, it changes everything. And when we have that success, there's like phase 2, and then maybe phase 3 is white label, but it's down the road. Let's just start here and execute here. Aim small, miss small.
What do you think about the idea of offering a mini course that says something like Clagency Sales Accelerator that like teaches them how to sell better to get more clients, which is what they think they want? And then within that, I teach them this whole system integrator offer and approach and methodology that increases their LTV by 3x.
I would say sell what they want and give them what they need. If that's what they need, sell something that they want. Yeah, 100%.
Cool, man. So tell me about your book. I know we've been on for
the book.
an hour.
So I appreciate it. Book's called DM Me. I did a little bit different. You see how the QR code on the front of this thing actually leads to an AI that talks like me that'll book a call.
Wait,
with you.
hold on. Keep it up. Let's see if I can pull it. It's gonna work. Oh yeah, it worked. All right, let's see what.
So, and I've never seen this on a book ever before. It's like you go on Amazon and you look at this, you can actually scan the QR from Amazon and it'll take you to that website.
I'm using it right now. So
what does it say?
It says, "Thanks for scanning the QR on my book. How's it going today?" I'm gonna have a conversation.
Please do. Tell us what it says.
It's going well, and this is in Flowchat.
So that's actually So that's it's part of Flowchat, but yeah.
Oh, so it's not. So it's actually not your tech here doing this.
It's pulled out of Flowchat.
Okay.
It's AI tech doing some other stuff.
Okay, so and it says book your free strategy call below. So just for all those people that are interested in funnels, that's pretty cool.
What's the response it said to you?
It says, "That's awesome to hear. What's been going well for you in your business lately?" Okay, let's see. Sold, I don't know, 3 new clients last week. 3 new clients last week. Okay, and I'm having, if anyone listening, I'm having a chat with his chatbot. It says it's typing, "Have you ever used DMs to close a deal before?" That's a pretty good transition. Okay, yeah, many times. Okay, and I click send. It's typing. The headline here is "DM me, let's chat." And so then it says, "That's awesome. What kind of results are you currently seeing from your DMs, and what's your biggest challenge with them right now?" This is good. This is going well so far. Okay, so I see great results and lots of booked calls, but I have to do it all myself. I have to do it manually. This is honestly true. I have to do it manually. Hold on. If I could type faster, manually all myself. Okay, I'm going to push this off. It's typing. It says, "I hear that. Manually handling every DM can really eat up your day. What's your role in your title in your business?"
Now it's starting to qualify you, right?
Founder. And so now is it going to ask for my email?
Nope.
Nice is nice. As a founder that hands all the DMs yourself, that hands all. I think it's just
Oh, I probably misspelled it.
yeah, but that's not bad. Hands all the DMs yourself. But one quick thing: what's your business annual revenue right now? Okay, for ReviOps, we're sitting at around 10K per month.
Nice.
Okay, we just launched in June, everyone. So
Congratulations.
So I cut a lot of good deals in the beginning. People will never see those prices again.
Yeah.
So got it. What's your revenue goals in the next 12 months? I'd like to break a million. Break a
83.3.
million
Nice.
in 12 months. Annual recurring. That's the goal. If I can go faster, great, but I think that's a reasonable goal.
Sure.
Let's see what happens. It's typing. I'm so interested in this because I'm curious the conversion rates. Love that goal. How many calls per week are you booking now from your DMs? Currently, I would say, realistically speaking, 5 to 10. I would say 5 to 10.
5 to 10. Yeah.
And I have a pretty high convert rate because of that profile. I have a pretty good presence. That's awesome momentum. To be transparent, my team typically works with businesses doing at least 250K a year before we scale and automate, but the core DM frameworks can apply at any stage. I'd recommend diving into those fundamentals in my book, DM Me, to get a solid foundation. Are you familiar with those frameworks, or would you like to explore how they could help you hit the 1 million goals? I'd like help. Let's click send. Last one. Does this convert well?
It's booking a boatload of calls for us right now. Yeah.
I totally get wanting help. At your stage, I'd recommend diving into the core DM frameworks in my book, DM Me. That'll give you the repeatable foundation. And then you don't have the book.
I have rules. I have rules that are set, like, because, yeah, the 250K number, maybe I drop it to 100K or something like that, but it was just like, that was one of the rules that I put in there. But it'll say, hey, get the book or go book a call with my team. Like, that's one of the outcomes. Those are the only 2 outcomes. So.
And then it goes, whether you read, okay, so then it goes into a sales letter that has a bunch of case studies or testimonials. And it goes into kind of a long form, not a long form, but a landing page.
Yep.
And so then the main call to action is right here: book your free strategy call, or it is get a free copy here. And so if I click on that, it then takes me to the Amazon page. Very, very interesting. And so I'm curious, like, that's so interesting. So how do people reach this page typically? Oh, so you're saying other people who have the book see it, and then they do a QR code.
The way I thought about it is, if you opened it up on Amazon, they can just scan that QR code, have a conversation, book a call. That's one. Two, if it's on the bookshelf at the airport, somebody's walking by, they just scan a code. They're not going to go buy a book. Boom, got them. Right? That's the idea.
How long has this been live?
Since September 7th.
Wow.
So not even like 15 days.
And so now, and is it just on Amazon, or are you doing any paid ads to this?
Yeah, so it's just on Amazon for now. I haven't started, again, 1,000 podcast pod tours coming. I've got a free plus shipping that are going to have like dope swag, like these sweaters that come with a book. Like it's going to be a Russell Brunson-ified, like full-on marketing effort, but it's just not there yet. Because it's me and my small marketing team building that on top of everything else we're doing. So it's, yeah.
And so this is a book funnel, essentially.
Yeah, it'll be a book that's just if you scan the thing. I have a whole nother book funnel that I already have. I just haven't launched it yet because we actually launched this book as well. This is our DM selling playbook. And this one is like really high quality with pictures. And this one is like test case stories and like frameworks and like cool things. And that one's actually in a low ticket funnel that we launched before the DM Me book. They just happened to like launch kind of at the same time. And so we're getting that funnel like really exploding right now because that's a 47 to 97 to 197. Book a call, buy 1,000 or higher thing. And then this one's going to be a little bit different than that. But yeah.
Do you think a book funnel could work for ReviOps? Like the sale, the book would be Explode Agency, like, something like that. Like scaling to 20 agencies, how to scale to, I don't know, some good book title that makes more sense. But do you think
for sure, dude. I think books are cool, man. I think you get like I'm writing a trilogy just like Russell did. I already have the second and third books almost written, but it's going to be a year-long marketing campaign for this one, and then the next one, and then the next one. So, yeah, I have at least a 3-year runway on the trilogy that I'm writing. I wanted to do it because it was on a bucket list to publish a book, and I had time to do it. So I think books can be a very effective tool for businesses, but I think the business that wins is the one that has the most entry points. So it's like, hey, you can get it through a webinar, you can buy a book, you can just book a call, you can just go do this thing. Like the more entry points you have in a business is the one that wins, but you got to remember when you're starting smaller, you're only going to have 2 or 3 entry points. See, because we had a done for you, a done with you, and a do it yourself. That's been the 3 entry points for Flowchat for a long time. Now we have a free book. Now we have a $47 playbook. Now we have another entry point. That's the idea. So
Interesting that you're calling it entry points. I think in the $0 to $100 million, no time flat, it's called front end offers. I think there's different people that call it front end offers, but well, very good to have you. Where can people find you online?
You can go to almost any social and just look up Sean Malone anywhere you want, and then DM me. I got a whole team on my DMs. We also have a bunch of AI and automation. If you want to see for yourself, like, go check it out. That's cool. Otherwise, on Amazon, go get the DM Me book, Create Life-Changing Conversations That Sell.
All right, guys. Well, you heard it here. Was this the first podcast with the DM book?
Yes, it
All
was.
right, we got the first. I think this has to be the exclusive. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah,
But,
it will be. What I'll do for you, Ben, is I'll create you I'm very open about this. I'll create you an affiliate link, and then we'll put that in the show notes. And then if people get the book, I don't have that rigged for affiliate commission yet. But what will happen is that person will be cookied to your account for 12 months. If they end up buying Flowchat, then you'd have an affiliate. So
There you
be
go.
how I do
All
it.
right. Well,
Yeah,
check out the show notes, everyone, for the book. There's going to be LinkedIn notes as well, or LinkedIn links and other important websites. Or maybe we just have the affiliate link because we only want one point of entry, right?
Either way.
It's up to you. But thanks again for being on the show. Last thing I always ask everyone is if you have to leave the audience, planet Earth, somebody who's watching this 100 years from now, whatever, whoever, it could be, your son or whoever it is, what would you say?
I would just tell everyone to remember that everything's going to be okay, and all you can do is all you can do, and all you can do is enough.
That's another hook. So, all right, man, thanks a lot. And we're going to be out of here, guys. Again, thanks for tuning in to the Next Gen Sales Leader podcast. I'll see you guys on the next episode. Benjamin Reed signing out.
Thanks, Ben.